Did you know that an accessory maker may have accidentally revealed the next entry-level iPad, and it comes with a piece of news a lot of people aren't going to love? A screen protector listing popped up for iPad 11-inch 2026, and if that wording is real, it basically points straight at iPad 12, with an A18 chip, not the A19 some rumors promised. Apple started the year swinging: the iPad Air M4, the $599 MacBook Neo, and a bunch of other shiny upgrades. But one product that didn't show up anywhere was the base iPad refresh, the affordable one, the iPad most people actually buy for school, Netflix, notes, and casual work. Now it looks like it didn't disappear. It's just waiting in the wings. And today I'm going to walk you through what this leaked accessory listing suggests, what it doesn't, why the A18 detail matters, what the iPad 12 could still do really well, and whether you should wait or just buy an iPad now and move on with your life. So here's the leak. Accessory maker ESR Tech posted a product page for an iPad-compatible screen protector. It got removed after people noticed it, which usually means one of two things. It was either a mistake, or it went up early, and someone at ESR got a very tense email. The key detail was the name. The listing reportedly called it the iPad 11-inch 2026. That one line does a lot of work. First, it strongly suggests Apple's next base iPad is still going to be the 11-inch class size, which matches what we already have. The current iPad 11 came out last year with the A16 chip, so an A18 2026 tag sounds like a direct successor. Second, it hints at the processor, and this is the disappointing part for anyone hoping Apple was going to go wild with the cheapest iPad, the A18, not the A19. Now, before anyone says, it's just a screen protector listing. Yes, it's not an Apple press release. But accessory listings are one of the most common ways this stuff leaks because case and screen protector makers have to prep early. They're not doing design work the week the iPad launches. They want stock ready to ship the second the iPad is available. And ESR isn't some random no-name brand. They move serious volume. When they label something that specifically, people pay attention. Now let's talk about the dimensions, because that's another big clue. The listing apparently confirmed the new model has the same dimensions as the iPad 11. Don't expect a redesign. If you put an iPad 11 next to an iPad 12, you might not be able to tell which is which until you turn them on. And honestly, that's not shocking. Apple rarely spends major design money on the base iPad. The base iPad is about value, not flexing. So if the outside isn't changing, the chip and features are where the story is. And the chip is where the rumor energy starts splitting into two camps. For a while, there were whispers that Apple might give the base iPad an A19 chip. That would have been a big jump. It would have made the cheapest iPad feel unusually current, especially if the A19 is the same family used in the iPhone 17 lineup. But this leak leans hard toward A18. Is A18 bad? No, not even close. A18 would still be a meaningful upgrade from the A16 in the current iPad 11. You're getting better performance, better efficiency, and likely better long-term software comfort. But it's still a letdown if you were expecting Apple to over-deliver. Why would Apple choose A18 over A19 for the base iPad? Easy: product spacing. Apple doesn't want the cheapest iPad stepping on the iPad Air's toes, and it definitely doesn't want it creeping into too close to Pro territory for casual buyers. Apple loves a ladder: the base iPad, then the Mini, then the Air, then the Pro. Clean steps, clean upsells. Now, here's where it gets interesting: Apple Intelligence. The current base iPad doesn't support Apple's AI features, and one of the big reasons is memory. Apple Intelligence needs at least 8 gigs of RAM. The current iPad 11 has 6 gigs. So if Apple wants the iPad 12 to support Apple Intelligence, it pretty much has to bump RAM to 8 gigs. That alone would be a massive practical upgrade, even if the design stays the same and even if the chip is only A18. Because for most people, more usable years matter more than benchmark bragging rights. If the iPad 12 becomes the first entry-level iPad that can run Apple Intelligence, that's a huge headline for regular buyers. Students, parents, anyone who just wants a tablet that doesn't feel outdated fast. But we should also keep expectations realistic. The base iPad is still the base iPad. Apple's probably not going to toss in a laminated display, ProMotion, 4 speakers, or Face ID. They keep those for the higher tiers for a reason. So what else are we hearing? Price is a big one. The expectation right now is that Apple keeps it close to the current pricing, around $349. Could that change? Sure. Tariffs, supply issues, chip costs, all that can shuffle things around. But there's no strong signal of a price jump yet, and Apple really wants that most affordable iPad message to stay clean. Storage is another quiet upgrade that matters. The current model already moved past the old 64 GB space that felt tight. The expectation is that iPad 12 keeps 128 GB as the entry point and still offers higher options up to 512 GB. And that's huge for people who keep iPads for years. Apps get bigger. iPad OS gets heavier. 64 GB becomes pain. 128 GB feels normal again. Cameras, keep your expectations calm. Entry-level iPads are not built for photography. They're built for FaceTime, Zoom, and scanning a document in a pinch. The rumored setup is simple: a 12 main camera and a 12 selfie camera. But the placement matters more than the megapixels. There are strong expectations that the front camera stays on the landscape side, and that's one of those changes that sounds tiny until you use it. FaceTime feels natural. Video calls stop looking like you're staring off into space. If you use a keyboard case, it just makes sense. Biometrics, probably still Touch ID in the power button. Face ID doesn't feel like it's coming to the base iPad yet. Apple keeps that as another pay more feature, and Touch ID is fine for most people anyway. Now the display. It's expected to stick with the same 10.9-inch Liquid Retina IPS LCD, 560 Hz, around 500 nits, solid color, and not amazing outdoors. And I want to pause here because this is where a lot of people feel the base iPad's limitations the most. Bright sunlight, coffee shop glare, harsh overhead lighting, it can get rough. If Apple adds better brightness or some glare resistance, it would instantly improve real-life use more than a tiny CPU bump. But do we have any proof of a screen upgrade? Not really, so assume it's the same until we see otherwise. Battery life? iPads usually hover around that 10 to 12-hour target. Expect similar. The rumored battery size is around what we already have, and charging is likely still wired at around 20 watt. Wireless charging? Don't count on it. Connectivity is where there's a possible surprise. Apple's newer in-house wireless chip, sometimes referred to as N1 in rumors, could bring Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, and even Thread support. That would be a big generational leap over Wi-Fi 6. But there's a big maybe here. Apple might reserve that chip for premium devices, at least at first. If the base iPad gets it, awesome. If it doesn't, it's not shocking. For cellular models, there's also chatter that Apple could keep expanding its own modem work, more power efficiency, similar performance, better integration. But again, nothing is confirmed, and the base iPad cellular has never been Apple's headline feature. So when is this thing coming? That's the most frustrating part. It could drop basically any time. The base iPad usually doesn't get a dramatic stage moment. Apple can announce it with a press release on a random Tuesday, update the store, and that's that. Mark Gurman has said it's coming soon, and that it could arrive alongside the iPad Mini 8. That sounds plausible. It's also vague enough to be either very close or a while away. If Worldwide Developer Conference 2026 is the next big calendar marker in June, Apple could either ship it before then to clean up the lineup or after then to ride the software hype. Both are believable. So the real question for most people is simple: should you wait? Here's the cleanest way to think about it. If you're on an older base iPad, like an iPad 9, waiting makes a lot of sense. You'll feel every upgrade: USB-C era design, better performance, better storage, likely Apple Intelligence support if the RAM goes to 8 gigs, and more years of software comfort. If you're on iPad 10, the jump might be tempting, but it depends on what matters to you. If Apple Intelligence is a must-have and your current iPad can't run it, that could be the reason to upgrade. If you just want basic tablet stuff, your iPad 10 is still fine. If you already have an iPad 11 with an A16, you probably shouldn't rush to upgrade, unless you really want Apple Intelligence and Apple actually enables it on iPad 12 only. Otherwise, this will likely be an incremental step. And if you need real power for heavy work, video editing, or serious multitasking, or you just want the best screen and accessories, you already know the answer: iPad Air or iPad Pro. The base iPad is a value play. It's not aiming at creators who live in Final Cut. So here's where we land. The ESR listing is a small leak, but it's a meaningful one. Same size, likely similar design, but a new chip and potentially the biggest feature shift the base iPad has had in years: Apple Intelligence support. The catch is that A18 label. It lowers the ceiling on the hype, but it might raise the floor on the experience, which is what most buyers actually want. If you want me to cover every iPad 12 leak the second it drops, subscribe and turn on notifications. And tell me in the comments, would you rather have the A19 for raw speed or the A18 if it means Apple keeps the price around $349 and focuses on RAM and features that actually matter? Community call. If Apple ships iPad 12 with A18 and 8 gigs of RAM for Apple Intelligence, is that a smart value iPad move? Or is Apple holding back on purpose to push you toward the air? Drop your take below, and I will feature the best arguments in the next update. See you in the next one. Peace out.